stuff on this slide is no longer UCR. UCR is antiquated. The FBI says you need to go to NIBRS. Only thing you need to remember between UCR and NIBRS is NIBRS catches is a big fishing net. It captures everything. So our numbers are nationally inclined because before frauds were in UCR, frauds were not in UCR, frauds are now in NIBRS. The only thing that's not in NIBRS is drunkenness. So it's 27 characters in NIBRS, so it's kind of unique. Next slide, go to the NIBRS slide.
Chief, if you could forward it yourself.
Oh, you want me to do it for you?
Yeah,
Where do you-
no, if you'd like to, you can just do it at your own pace. So.
There you go. So if you see right there, I started with NIBRS in 2018 because we were doing it long before the FBI said to do it. What you see in 2018 is Greatwood and new territory annexation. But look, I want you to look at 2020. Look at your numbers in 2020. That was COVID, right? Sugar Land fared quite well in COVID year compared to a lot of other cities with their crime rate. We did actually quite well. As you can see, if you go to 2021, we're still doing very well compared to 2019, 2018. And if I even went back to 2017, 16, the numbers are staying consistent. But 2021 so far for us has been a good, very good year for us. And I'll explain that a little bit more why I think it's been a good year for us. So we have, what I did is I took the theft cases, remember our thefts, and I put them into small blocks. So let's go to BMV. So I'm saying when I say thefts, residential thefts, commercial theft, auto parts, shoplifting, what we do is we break them out for everybody for it micros it for y'all. So when I say BMVs, most of our BMVs are happening in the commercial areas. When I say commercial areas, that's going to be like the mall. That's going to be a lot of it Methodist Hospital right now. We're having some issues with that with catalytic converters. Has everybody seen that on the news? Catalytic converters. You can go research it. It's out there right now. State legislation is about to pass some law to make it a little bit stricter on catalytic. They're taking them for the metals in the catalytic. So when people's car starts up in the morning, it clank, 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 clanks as part of the exhaust system. And it's mostly Toyotas. Sugar Land was hit with catalytic converter thefts, but so was a lot of our surrounding agencies. We've caught multiple people breaking into cars on the catalytics. They get under the car and they saw them off. So that was some of the thefts on the BMV side that we had. We didn't have a lot of neighborhoods late at night, kids running through the neighborhoods and doing unlocked doors. We did pretty well this last quarter. I didn't see a lot of those. The shoplifting, of course, everything's opening up. So out of the shoplifting, what we did see is what we're starting to see is a lot of makeup. Ladies, I guess that's expensive. So Ultra and a lot of the cosmetic places, man, we're talking $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000 worth of makeup being stolen at a single time. So it's very expensive. So that's where a lot of our thefts, and then of course, high-end clothes at the mall, they get by they take the blue jeans and then they just run out and they jump into the car. So that's where a lot of the thefts are coming in from our shoplifting. Our auto parts, like I said, most of those numbers are driven by catalytic converter thefts. The other thing, small uptake in tailgates. If y'all remember probably 7, 8, 9 years ago, tailgates were a thing. It kind of died off. Well, now it's kind of picking back up again, I guess because there's more used cars on the market because of the economy and everything. So we are seeing some of those. And believe it or not, and this is where I urge you to, this is one thing you can do, license plates. License plates. Check your front, check your rear. Make sure you have your license plates on your vehicle. We're getting those stolen. So what are they doing with them? They put them on their car. They go through the toll roads. They go through the city's LPR system, which doesn't read. It shows you to be there. And then they go commit crimes. So we're seeing a lot of that with the hard license plates. And the other thing we're seeing a lot of stuff is with the soft license plates from where they just kind of make up their own characters and slap it on there. So we're seeing a lot of that going on. So just kind of, those are some things that you kind of do a little bit. And then of course the commercial stuff, I'm gonna skip that one, but the residential, when I say residential thefts, that's gonna be like known suspects. Most of everything in Sugar Land, if it's residential, it's gonna be a known, like I'm just throwing it out there, your pool guy took your chair off the desk and went outside. A lot of those are known. So I don't want to put fear into you in that one. These are your top locations for this quarter. Look at them. Very, very good numbers, and they're all commercial. Every once in a while, you'll get a neighborhood one night when some little kids come out and they start unlocking, the doors are unlocked, and they start unlocking doors and going through. But there's your stuff. Courtyard by Marriott and Hyatt Place, you look at those, the reason they've gone up is because we've opened up, right? Those numbers used to be higher than this 2 and 3 years ago. The second thing that you're also seeing is the fitness gyms. Well, we lost one major fitness gym because of COVID, right? It shut down on 59. So fitness gyms are usually actually really higher. So not everybody's back in the fitness gyms. Historically for Sugar Land, these numbers have always been our driving factor. So we do spend some time looking at that. Actually, we have a very good relationship with the hotels. Actually, when they tell clients come into the hotels and they say, hey, one of my clients got their car broken into, they actually call our crime prevention officers, and we work very close with our hotels and our hospitals. We have everybody on first name basis, and that's that partnership. I think that's what drives those numbers down, because I'm telling you now, all these businesses here, they do not want B&Bs and burglaries and theft because it hurts them. So they're very apt to call us because they know we're going to be there and we're going to assist them. So these numbers, you go, oh, what is this? I'm just looking at weird numbers right here. But this is to me is what kind of drives fear in a lot of us, because nobody wants their house broken into. But when I say this quarter, okay, we take 8. We had 3 garages broken into. We had 2 houses that were broken into, and we had 3 apartments broken into. That's the driving numbers of, oh my God, 37%. But remember, at the end of the day, because the neighbor's reporting, a garage is a house, and that's an attached garage. So if somebody comes in there and steals little Johnny's bicycle out of the garage, that counts as a burglary of a habitation. So don't be confused with some of these numbers. The apartments, some of these they're sporadic. There's not one single apartment. Again, the apartments work with us pretty good. I'll highlight one of the residents because my last slide I'll touch on a little bit. Single family residence burglary. So one of them made mention because it was on our Facebook posting. That's where the lady was sitting there in the house, the elderly female was sitting in her house at the middle of the day. And that's when she heard a boom. She came around the corner and fired a round at the guy. And if y'all remember, that guy was all on Facebook because we put him on Facebook, but she kind of did her own smart lady. But she helped us out, and it was 2 streets behind her. That was the guy that broke into her house. So that guy was apprehended and he was caught. So I bring that up because it did scare a lot of the neighborhoods that somebody would break in during the day. But remember, residential burglaries tend to happen during the day. But she did a very good job. Very, 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 very smart lady. Again, they're really kind of boring numbers there. Some of this, I'll go back to if you're going to research our Facebook. So I went over some of these. So our commercial burglaries, our robberies are actually where it did happen in our commercial areas because I kind of took it apart. 2 were at Whole Foods. 1 was at Costco. This was ladies getting into their vehicle and a male coming up, and one of them hit the lady, and one of them, he actually pushed the lady and grabbed their purses. That's what they're going after. So out of these 2, I'll tell you right now, we caught one. We know one guy did Costco. It's the same guy that did Costco that did the Whole Foods. But we are still not able to file the robbery charge on him yet because of the stringent requirements that I have to have. But we did file credit card abuse on him because the lady was sharp, kept all her credit cards in order. She says he took my purse and he stole this credit card, this credit card. That day, our detectives went into Houston and went to all the gas stations that he used, and there he is, clean as day. Then we followed up. We went to his mom's house. He goes, that's little Johnny that did that. So we arrested him on credit card abuse. But unfortunately, the lady's struggling to remember exactly what his face looked like because that's one of the elements of an eyewitness. So it's struggling. So I say that to say, yeah, we did have 3, and these were not very good. These were violent robberies, but we know we arrested 1 of the 3. The second one in there is the residential areas. Again, some of this stuff was linked in y'all's neighborhoods. I know y'all kind of watch it. One of these was off of Chestnut Meadow. This is where a female was returning home, a 26-year-old female returning home from a place in Houston. It's a lot of speculation on this one, but as she was returning home, she thinks she was maybe somebody sitting there, but in reality, we're pretty confident she was followed out of Houston. And if you look at the news, that's actually one thing that the news actually does have right, is the follow homes are happening. So I say that to tell you, be triple cognizant when you're coming into your house. You don't have to be paranoid. Please don't be paranoid, but just know what's going on. If you see a car sitting in front of your driveway, don't pull into your driveway, circle around, call somebody, call us. I go back to my famous quote for Sugarland Police. You ever heard a police department saying, call us? I mean, I do that because it's easier for us on the front side than it is on the back side. So that young lady, and that's an active case, and we're still looking for that one. The other one was the off of Auburn Path. That one garnished a lot of equipment, a lot of FaceTime, and a lot of fear into the neighborhood because, again, that was a very violent crime where the person came in, followed her home, and then actually went into the house, and they did have a weapon. Right now, we're pretty confident we know who this individual is, and we're pretty confident this individual isn't coming back. So you'll probably hear something in a couple more months down the line on that result of that case. So again, I go back to, I don't stress hypervigilance, but I do know your environment. I do know your environment because I don't want to send fear into anyone. I stress this a lot when I go to HOA meetings. We have 6 crime prevention officers. Know your beat. Know what beat you're in. Beat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. We have crime prevention officers. They are your liaisons. They're the ones that if you just kind of want to know something and say, hey, I heard y'all had some type of an altercation down the street, they'll answer that question. They may not get to you that day, but they're going to get to you. But they're their liaisons. They actually know the crime stats. Every morning they have to go through whatever, if you're in Greatwood or Barrington Place, every morning, beat 1 or beat 5 or 6, they go through the crime stats and they know what's going on. They're the liaisons. It's actually quicker to go through them than maybe sometimes you trying to navigate our web browsers and stuff like that. And if you don't, please, your homework for the night is know your beat lieutenant and know your crime prevention officer. The city spends a lot of resources to get these people to assist you, and we got some great crime prevention officers. We've trying to, if you notice, we're getting more active on Facebook a lot. So what you'll see for me is when I start to work with, right now I'm over operations, so I'm over patrol and criminal investigations. So anything in a uniform, that's what I'm over. So what I try to do is marry up those two people. So when you see something on Facebook about identity theft, it's a good chance that's what's happening right now, because that was a big spike with the fraud. Fraud is driving really right now because it's part of NIBRS. The Texas Workforce Commission, all your identity being stolen, it's the #1 crime going on right now, and it's not letting up. They're making more money doing that than they are breaking in your car and getting a $10 purse. So when you see our Facebook, I'm telling you, if you see it like, and Hannah's back there is actually one that really controls our Facebook. She helps me out, just like the 4th of July when our officer got hit 2 days before in the Tahoe where he got hit by DWI. Hannah put that out there, just a reminder to show that we're personable, and these are the crime trends that we're seeing. So I emphasize that enough. Please visit us. And then we're expanding because of Hannah. We're expanding our Twitter. So when you get a major shutdown at 6 and 59, we'll try to get you that information as quick as you can to avoid some of those intersections like that. Other than that, I'm emphasizing again, please know your crime prevention. That was really your crime prevention officer. With that, okay on time?
Yes, you're great.
Yes, sir.
Chief, I know that we had 2 different stats that involve homes. Is one burglary, one robbery? Is that correct? Can you differentiate?
Yeah, so robbery is the easiest way to explain, and this terminology is confusing all the time to everybody. A robbery is of the person. It's a person. So when you go into, and we were always going to take the higher crime. So if I pull into your house, I run into your house and I rob you, we're going to go with the higher element, and the higher element is robbery. If I go into your house and I don't touch you, I don't threaten you, and I grab your Perel and I run out, we're going to call that burglary of a habitation. So they are, and that in terminology is important. It's actually very important. And a lot of people get that confused, because a lot of times when I hear people calling us on Nextdoor, it goes, I was robbed, and then they expand a little bit, their tire was stolen off their car. But people that know terminology go, oh my God, what happened? So great question, actually. Yes, ma'am.
What kind of issues are you having with traffic control for people just running through stop signs?
So
How's that coming?
So actually, a month ago, we're fully staffed in our traffic unit. So we have 11 officers, and that's split between motorcycle guys and traffic cars. And they split, their whole function is traffic control and accident prevention. So that's, and the city's very aggressive when it comes to grants. And and we go off our stats, like let's just say 6 and 90 is probably our highest location. And I think major accidents for last month was 2 at that intersection. But we still keep it on the radar, and we still fight with TxDOT to get those monies coming in. The second thing that we started several years ago, which has been wonderful for the city, is we started commercial motor vehicle enforcement. So we have 3 guys that are highly trained to actually go up to these dump trucks and inspect these dump trucks. And most of them are overloaded, they're overweight. And those are the ones that cause serious damage like that. But again, I go back to, if you feel like you're having in front of your neighborhood, and remember, most people speeding down your street is going to be your neighbor. But if you feel like that's a chronic problem, you can call us. You can call your crime prevention officer. That's probably the best person, because we'll set up a traffic assignment for 2 weeks, and we'll either have a march unit or a motorcycle unit go out there, and we actually track that to see, and we'll actually report back to you. Within these 2 weeks, we worked it 30 times. We only caught 1 car. So that's actually a great question too. Anything else? Yes, sir.
2 questions. Before the pandemic, when they consolidated the elementary schools and they did the traffic flow, the HOA and the residents weren't advised of how they were gonna do the traffic. So it caught us by surprise to see all those cars lined up.
So what school are you referring to?
Barrington Elementary School.
Was that when during the construction phase as well?
No, only when they consolidated the kids in the school.
When they pulled, I think it was a Sugar Mill or one of the schools, they pulled them back over in there?
Yeah.
So we do work with Fort Bend ISD when they kind of help us, or they actually kind of control the inlet and outlet. We try to work with them. If, from what I'm reading from you, probably the communication wasn't there to the
Right.
citizens. Yeah, that's, to me, that's a communication issue that can easily be prevented.
And this one also, it was more prevalent before the pandemic. Right across from Barrington Elementary School in Austin,
Mhm.
there's a small business there.
Yes. I'm
But
familiar
it
with that.
turns out that it's not a part of Sugar Land, it's a part of Fort Bend.
Correct, it's a little bit outlier.
And they played a lot of loud music till 4 a.m, and we were handcuffed. You guys couldn't give them tickets, and Fort Bend police would come, tell them to turn it down. They would leave and they'd turn it right back up. There's gotta be a better solution to that problem.
I think it went resolved because I know exactly what you're talking about. That was Sergeant Volek and an Officer Reed that kept going to that house, and you're right. We were getting loud noise complaints from that house. And there was that, hey, this belongs to Fort Bend County, but yeah, we took it over, because I know for a fact we took it over to try to resolve that issue. I haven't heard that complaint for a while now.
Yeah, since the pandemic, it's been
And
quiet.
I think we did, I'm almost positive we got with they were renters.
Right.
And we got with the owner and said, hey, be a good neighbor. And that's what our crime prevention officers do. Something like that annoys you with loud music, that's what we do. Because again, it disrupts you. And that's what our crime prevention officers do.
Hannah, do we have any questions from the chat? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
Thanks, Chief, very much. All right, next we have Pat Hughes, our Emergency Management Administrator.
Morning, everybody. I'm going to talk to you a little bit this morning. There. I'm going to talk to you a little bit this morning. We're in hurricane season. I think everybody knows that. Fortunately, at this point, it looks like as much as the Sahara dust is a pain to a lot of us, that sneezing and that kind of thing, and our cars get dirty and everything, the positive part of that whole process is it's keeping hurricane formations down. My personal opinion as the emergency management coordinators, I'd like to see it in place through the end of November. But that's wishful thinking on my part, but it is helpful. The other things that are concerning at this point, as the hurricane season cranked up real early this year compared to other years, but it seems hopefully that it's settled down a little bit and we're moving forward. We don't have anything out there at this point that we're looking at. But with that said, you know where you live, where hurricane season has a major impact on us every year. Make sure that you're taking care of your family, you're planning for what we're in the middle of. If we have to, God forbid, do some kind of a major evacuation, make sure you've got plans to be able to do that. Take care of having enough water and food at your residence. Another issue that's really become a major concern at this point is losing power. And the potential is there to have an extended loss of power. And we got an unfortunate little feel of it during the February winter storm. But the bottom line is we got to be prepared for everything. And we want you all to be thinking through this as you're getting your families ready to deal with this. Hurricane season runs from June the 1st to November the 30th. And the other thing we've been dealing with a lot this year, is you all have dealt with it too, is the rainfall. We've been getting an awful lot of rainfall as well. So all of these things are considerations we have to look at from the emergency management aspect to make sure that we're prepared and able to keep you all informed on information that we have to get out to the public. With that said, one of the things that we've worked diligently on over the last several years, with all the different platforms that are out there for communications now, we tried to make sure that we're staying on top of our ability to communicate with our citizens. We work consistently with Doug Adolph in the back of the room as our communications director. We're always working with their staff to try to, and all our departments, to try to make sure that we've got the ability to get information out to our citizens when you need to get it. You get a lot of it from news and things, but it seems like more and more it's on social media platforms that you're getting a lot of your news. So over the years, we've tried to make sure we're staying plugged in and are able to get you information in a lot of different manners so that hopefully you're getting the word when we have something important to get out to you. If any time we have an incident that occurs that's, let's say we have something at a hazmat handling facility, if it's isolated and to that facility, basically all we need to do is get that information out to you, and we will do that through our public information type of formats. We'll put stuff up on Facebook and the other different social media platforms saying, hey, if there's something going on, that's NALCO, as it isn't, or it's not NALCO anymore, it's Champion X. There's something going on there, just be aware of it. It's not anything dangerous that we feel that anyone's threatened by it, but we're not going to use a whole lot of notification processes other than giving everybody a heads up of what's going on. So if they have questions, they at least get an idea of what's happening. If it begins to impact the surrounding community, I guess a good example is the NALCO, or it was the NALCO release that happened, I don't remember, 2012 maybe, or 8. But that you saw that big white cloud that turned out to be nothing that was concerning, but at the time it was really a challenge to try to get the information out to the citizens. Since then, we've been able to look at systems and put in place systems to try to address our communications capabilities. If it's an immediate life threat, we contact 911, which is our dispatch center, and our Office of Emergency Management. And then if we need to start setting things up to coordinate our approach and response to it, we can do that. We also have the ability to do forced phone call, cell phone messaging. If you've gotten an Amber Alert on your phone, or you've seen it on TV, you'll have those come across your TV and they're extremely loud and they get your attention. We have the ability to get that kind of messaging out as well if we have to try to get it to our citizens. We got our AM, FM radio messaging. We've got as I said, the forced television messaging, and then the voluntary sign up. If you go to our webpage, you can put your email address, your phone numbers, all your contact information into that system. And that way, when we have to send something out, you're automatically in the system. Whatever we send out, you're going to get that messaging. That's just a normal process that we follow with our city process, or with our city notification system. And we can also do reverse 911, which is just send messaging back out to through the 911 system. If it's potential impacts without immediate threat, we still have our dispatch and OEM contacted. We still go back to our voluntary sign up, our city social services, our social media services that we have the ability again to try to get messaging out to you. And then we can also put a lot of information up on our city website. That's something that we try to make sure that as we're doing our communications, we're touching all the communication platforms that we've got to try to make sure our citizens are well informed and you're kept up on the latest information that's going on within the city. And then we also can go back to reverse 911 should we need to send those messages out to hit everybody's phone. We have the ability through the voluntary sign-up system to hit people that are actually in our city that live here and sign up for the system. We also have the capability to send messaging out to anybody that's in our city at the time, regardless of where they're from. If they're from the Dallas-Fort Worth area and they're down here working or whatever, we have the ability to send messaging out to hit their phones as well. Anybody that has a cell phone within the area that we're trying to send that messaging out, they will receive that message as well. We are very cognizant of what that situation causes, and we want to make sure as when we do activate those types of notification systems that we're doing it the way we need to be doing it and making sure that we're putting the information out to everybody to try to give them a great understanding of what's going on. The other thing I think on communications, and I think I read this, and Jennifer, y'all do on your 311 system, y'all do a chat now, right?
Yes.
They have chat capability. If you've had any questions or concerns about what's going on in the city, if you call 311, we've got operators that are standing by to answer your calls, and they just recently added that chat capability. So if you want to send them a message on your phone, you can actually talk to them if you don't want to necessarily talk on the telephone. So you can communicate in that manner as well. We're consistently trying to improve our communication. And with that, I'll answer any questions that you have. Yes, ma'am.
Pat, so this is awesome. Really like the way you've done this, but just to make sure I see it correctly. When it's a life-threatening incident, everything on that left-hand side, you're not gonna try to sit there and keep the website hot and, you know, everything else, the social media messaging. If it's life-threatening, it really moves into a different sort of format first, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's the one where we're really trying to get messaging out to as many people as we can, especially if we're going to, let's say your neighborhood, we have a tanker that overturns and we've got dangerous chemicals that are coming out of that, and we've got to notify the people to either shelter in place or at some point maybe have to evacuate. Those are the messaging that we will use any messaging capability we've got to try to get that messaging out to our citizens.
So what I'm seeing there that's consistent on both sides, that jumps out at me is the voluntary sign up for alerts. And if they were to do that, they're getting both of those.
Yes, ma'am.
Right there, the messaging straight from you. Tell me where evacuation due to floods would come in. Would that be considered on the left-hand side of that chart, or?
I think you're probably looking more on the potential side of that, depending on what is causing that flooding to begin with. If we've all dealt with this over the last couple of years, the street flooding issues with all the rainfall we've had. May 7th, a couple of years ago, was a good example of, we had a tremendous amount of rain in a short period of time, and we had a lot of street flooding. We were trying to make sure that we got that messaging out to everybody. That is a temporary, hopefully for the most part, a temporary situation that we want you aware to stay away from certain areas. But if
It's not really that life-threatening.
Right.
So that's going to fall more on your right-hand side of your communication.
Yes, ma'am. But if we're in a situation and we got the Brazos River running through here, if you've seen it here lately, it's way up. It's not at flood stage, but it's way up. We've got 9 LIDs, or levee improvement districts, within the city of Sugar Land. This is like one of the largest levee improvement areas in the state as far as what we've got in our city. We've got constant communications with all our LIDs, but with the Brazos running through here and all the rainfall we deal with, that's always a major concern on our part, of if we're getting too much rain and the river's up and we start getting accumulation of that rainfall within those LIDs, that are the situations, the bad situations that prompt us to start looking at, okay, do we need to evacuate a neighborhood because they're not able to control the flooding through the levee process, and so we may have to go in and order them to evacuate their neighborhood. Those are the ones that then become a life-threatening concern. And so those are other considerations that we're trying to make sure anytime we need to improve our communications capability, we're looking at ways to do that.
So I guess I'm kind of directing this because since I see that voluntary sign up on both sides, that is, I push that all the time.
Mhm.
to residents in my neighborhood, to be sure they're signed up to the city and the county.
Right.
Those alerts are much more important than even the HOA, whatever they do, alert, because, you know, they just add another layer. I'm
Yes,
sorry to say that, I hope I don't offend anyone, but I mean, they add another layer that doesn't allow the people to, and social media as well, and I really appreciate you trying to do that, but I also know in many cases, you have to spend an awful lot of time sorting out the truth from the non-truths on social media, and I just really want to emphasize that people need to be sure they're signed up to your alerts, because that's gonna be where they're gonna get their
Good
real
point. Exactly.
source of information, not, you know,
And that's also the premise of what we would force messaging out in other, not just to that system, but to everybody's phone within a given area. That's the whole purpose of that, of if it's a serious situation, we're going to use every means possible to try to get everybody notified of what's going on. But yeah, it's extremely important that, and very easy to go onto our website and sign up and get that information. And I know in a lot of situations, it can be a pain that, oh, I'm getting another message from the city, but you need to be reading those messages to make sure that it's not something that is detrimental to exactly where you're at that point in time. You need to be paying close attention to that information. Yes,
They can actually geocode those messages if it's an emergency. Actually in dispatch, they can geocode the area, specific neighborhood, like now core Champion that may be affected for. Everyone in there from cell phones to landline phones, everybody gets those messages, whether you sign up or not.
well, that emergency force them.
If it's an emergency, we will get in contact with this emergency.
Say a little bit about the city's position on the backup power. I did see something about it. What is the city doing to encourage residents to get backup power?
I believe.
Generator grant.
Generator stuff.
We're offering tax
We're
credit.
offering a generator rebate program, if you can sign up online. What that does is once you go through the process of applying for a whole home standby generator, there are a number of permit and inspection fees that the city charges as part of that process to ensure that the work is done safely. It amounts to about $425. And what the city is doing is, once you've gone through that process and have everything approved and installed, then you get rebated for $425. And that's what we're doing, that to encourage both resiliency and preparedness, to encourage people to, pursue that option. Because we know that we're going to be faced with more power outages in the future.
On the city side, we've had this group did an assessment of all those critical infrastructures like City Hall, Police Department, Fire Department. We have backup generators in those main facilities, but also some of our water systems went down. And I believe we purchased some additional backup to the backup system we had, those water systems, to make sure that we can maintain those as well. I know we use FEMA dollars to actually purchase them.
But the key to that is take this extremely seriously, that this is not a one-time concern. This is an ongoing problem that if you can take steps at your residents to help defer that to some extent, by all means, do that. I know a lot of people that have been going out and getting installed generators at their residences, that if we lose power, those automatically kick on and they power their entire residence during an outage. Others have portable generators that they'll bring in and utilize and power certain aspects of their home during that situation. If you do that, you've got to be extremely cognizant of the fact that you cannot put those generators anywhere near inside your residence, in your garage, or anything else, because they create carbon monoxide issues. So if you've got a portable generator, make sure they're out in your yard far enough away that the fumes are not getting into your home. The portable, or the generators that are actually Genrex, I guess, is one of them, that is outside your residence, tied into, in a lot of situations, tied into your gas system, natural gas system or whatever, automatically comes on, and they're put in with the understanding that they are far enough away from the residents and not causing the concerns that a lot of the portable generators cause when people are just setting them up and thinking they gotta have them inside. And we've had an awful lot of issues over the years of people, families going to bed and killing the entire family because of the carbon monoxide. So just be very careful in it, but also it's going to be an ongoing issue. So it's not going to go away anytime soon. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
We just told all the folks in our subdivision that are putting in the generators that they also have to have a large coffee pot, because they're gonna have a lot of neighbors that say hi.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody else?
All right. Any questions from the chat, Hannah?
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you
Pat.
very much. Y'all have a good one.
All right, next we have an engineering update from Keisha Seals and Jorge Alba. Keisha's going to give you an update about projects, and then Jorge has a flood insurance update.
Good morning. So as Pat alluded to, communication is very important to the city overall. And throughout the, even pre-COVID, but through COVID and now, you know, I want to say post-COVID, but, you know, as we continue to go through the process, communication is very important. And of course, we have been adapting to our new normal. And so one of the ways that we've adapted is doing hybrid meetings. And I think it actually works out very well because those that cannot attend in person still gets the opportunity to get the information, right? They just do it virtually. So I want to welcome those that are here and then those that are in virtual meeting setting. And so we keep our residents engaged throughout the process of all projects, from study all the way through construction. And in those various phases, we do various types of communication. So through design process, it may be a little bit more elaborate. And then through our construction process, you'll get notifications via door hangers or updates through your HOA as we come or, you know, do a virtual meeting for you just to provide you with an update. And so as always, we'll continue to do that to make sure that the residents are well informed of what's going on in their area. So I'm going to step through some of our CIP projects. We have about 89 active CIP projects ongoing in various phases through study, PER, design, and construction, but I'm going to highlight those that we've been discussing over the quarters. The first being Settlers Park drainage. Again, this project is about 85%, almost 90% complete. Construction did start in March, and we are continuing to install large size drainage pipes through Greenfield Drive. And so that's almost complete, as well as pavement improvements on that project. And so we are anticipating, weather permitting, that construction will be completed at the end of this summer. State Highway 6, this is the widening from Brooks to Lexington. This is my very least favorite project of all the projects that are ongoing, not only because I'm the project manager of it, but it's just been going on for a very long time, right? I'm sure everyone can identify with that. But it is nearing completion. So if you've noticed, both northbound and southbound lanes have been open to the public. And so you can freely drive on both sides now. And so we're currently working on the west side, which is the Target side, the City Hall side of things. And so we are currently completing the installation of some curb and installation of sidewalk. And then I'm doing some grading behind the curb and behind the sidewalk so we can go ahead and complete that project. There are some other ancillary items that are ongoing, but for the most part, we are anticipating that this project too will be completed in August, weather permitting. So I want to step into the GO bond projects. So in 2019, again, you graciously approved all of our propositions, 1 of them being the drainage propositions, and there were 10 drainage projects that you approved. We had 9 projects in 2021 that moved forward, and I'm going to highlight some of them, but most of them have started either in study and or design and even construction. But for the most part, Austin Parkway, Chimney Stone, Greatwood Village, Avalon, Brazos Landing, Commonwealth, there's a phase 1 and phase 2 to that project. The Telfair drainage improvements at New Territory and Chatham, Riverbend storm sewer inlets and pipes, the Sugar Creek drainage improvements, that one is construction, and that was for Montclair Drive. The flood control improvements, that project is actually completed already. It started in 21, we were able to complete it, and so that's already one project from the 2019 GO bond that has already been completed. So really happy about that. And then the citywide flood protection and drainage study. That one has not yet started. We have identified some potential projects for the studies, but we have not activated those projects yet. So the good thing is that we do have some things that we want to look at, and we'll do that in FY22, which is of course our October 1st to 2021 process. And then 5 street projects that were approved in the GO bond, and 2 again have already commenced or are in the process of commencing. The University Boulevard widening project, that is from Telfair Boulevard to just south of Lexington, and that is the widening of the boulevard on the median. So within the median, there will be additional lane in each direction. And so that project, we have already selected a consultant, and so we are moving forward with the scoping process, and so hoping to get that one going at least by the end of the year. And then the citywide transportation and mobility studies, again, staff is going through and identifying locations where we want to do additional studies or conduct a study in areas where we're seeing impacts of traffic and just mobility being impeded. And so those will be the areas that we will begin to look at this coming year. So I wanted to highlight Greatwood Village. This one actually started off as a study. And so we quickly moved from the study into design. And so the design itself is about 90% complete. This one was study, design, and construction all in 1 year. So in FY21, we began the process of doing this study, quickly moved into design. And so design is nearing completion, so we can go ahead and start construction. And so this will be upsizing of storm sewer inlets and pipes all the way to the outfall. We are working with the lid 10 in that area. We're anticipating bidding this early fall, so September timeframe, and then starting construction in October. Again, I talked a little bit about Sugar Creek, Montclair. This was construction. The design was already completed prior to the 2019 GO bond. And so we started off with construction. We have been working through some easements with Centerpoint. And so we finally worked through that entire process. And now we are actually able to go in and start construction. So that one is moving forward. So if you recall, we do have a 2013 bond. That was our Parks bond. And there were several projects within that Parks bond project. And so we are currently working on the remaining 3. One, I would say, is a Part A. It was a 3-phase project. That was the Brazos River Park. We've completed 2 of the phases. And so we are getting ready to start the 3rd phase sometime in October, which will be playground, kind of hardscapes in that area, and different amenities that people can enjoy. And that will be the final phase of that project. But more specifically, I want to discuss the 2 trail projects that have been ongoing. That is the the First Colony Trail, as well as the Ditch H Trail. So First Colony Trail, it is about 75–80% complete with design. Again, working through some easements that are necessary for the project to be installed with Fort Bend County and with the church. But once completed, we would move forward into construction and starting the bidding process sometime in September. The Ditch H project, that one is about 50% complete. This will be one of the longest trail systems that we will have in the city. It will start at Imperial Park, so all the way on the north side of the city, and run all the way down to Lexington Boulevard. And that's actually what we're considering the first phase of a two-phase process. And so the second phase will be from the Lexington Boulevard Bridge all the way to Austin Parkway. And so that will connect to eventually the Woodstream and First Colony trail system. So very well connected, well thought out trail system. We are actually in the process of putting together a public engagement meeting. And so you'll see some information coming out from Carrie here shortly regarding our public engagement hybrid meeting. So it'll be in person as well as virtual. And both myself and the consultants will kind of step you through where we've been, where we are right now, and then where we anticipate to be as far as construction is concerned. I would like to give you a forewarning that this project does have a lot of text dot review process because we are going underneath Highway 6 and underneath Highway 59. And so because of that, I'm just throwing it out there that there's some lead time, of course, that will take place because we have to work through the TxDOT process. But I've been in contact with TxDOT and, we're stepping through that process, but that part of it will really be left up to their review time. Okay, so I'm really hoping that we can start construction of this project early part of next year. So as always, I really like to promote how we in the engineering department get information out to you, the public and the residents. And one of the major ways is our CIP story map, which is an interactive tool that we built in-house for you to be able to go in and click on any project, either in your neighborhood or outside of your neighborhood that is active. So this represents all active projects that we have ongoing. There are several icons for each division: airport, drainage, municipal, streets, traffic, and then all of our utilities, surface water, and wastewater. And you can click on any one of those icons and get the recent, most up-to-date information pertaining to that project. If you ever have any issues and need to speak to someone regarding that project, of course, you can call 311, but also this information and platform will give you the project manager's information, and you can always call us and we'll be happy to talk to you about the project and give you a further update on it. Again, Pat always talks about the notifications, but we do our construction notifications as well. And so if you sign up, you will receive construction updates and information pertaining to your area. And so that's always a good way, kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on and how the projects are moving forward or what's getting ready to take place. I know sometimes you'll see flags in your, in your area and not know what's going on. Sometimes that is outside of our prayer view because it is the utility companies that will come in and do their own projects as well. But for the most part, if we are doing construction, then this notification will let you know, hey, we are getting ready to come in and do some surveys. So you'll start seeing some flags out there, some stakes out there. So just a good way to stay informed. We already talked about the CIP story map, and then of all else fails, You can always email us as cityengineer@sugarlandtx.gov. That email gets to the city engineer, Jesse Lee, comes to myself or any other person that she deems necessary to respond back to you. And again, is a good way just to get further updates if ever needed. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jorge Alba, who is going to update you on the FEMA Risk 2.0.
Thank you, Keisha. Good morning, everybody. So I'm here to talk this morning about a program that you probably already have heard about. And if you have heard about through the news or attending levy district meetings, you are probably going to hear about a lot from this point on because it's going to have an impact, positive or negative, we're not absolutely sure yet, on all the residents of Sugar Land. It's called the FEMA Risk 2.0. You can imagine that it probably was a FEMA Risk 1.0 before. Actually, FEMA has been working on this for about 5 years. They got a pushback from Congress, but they finally came this year and they issued a new FEMA Risk Rating 2.0. What this is a new system to calculate flood insurance premiums. So it's not a change to the floodplain maps, it's not a change to BFE elevations or anything. It's just a new way to calculate how they are going to charge people that have flood insurance or require flood insurance from people that doesn't have flood insurance. So the intent of Risk 2.0 is to come with a new price methodology that FEMA claims is going to be more fair, provide equitable premiums, and better reflect properties flood risk. And I explain later how they are planning to come with this. So 3 important dates. April 1st, 2021, that's what they announced the program, when they implemented the program. And that means that by October 1st, 2021, any new policies, any new flood insurance policies have to be subject to this new pricing. They call it new rating methodology. And then by April 1st, 2022, next year, any renewing policy will be subject to this new rating methodology. So what is changing? What FEMA is claiming is that these premiums will reflect the property's flood risk better than what it used to be before. Before, they were based on a nationwide average, based on if you were in the floodplain or not, in the A zone, the A zone, the X zone, the coastal zone or no, and there were some tables that they determine what will be your rate that you should pay for your flood insurance. Now it's going to be based on what is the distance of your property to the flooding source. Okay, so 2 people could be in a levee protected area, for example, but one will be farther away from a drainage channel, from a channel in the ditch, in the levee, and another will be farther away. They will be paying complete different premiums. Or 2 neighbors may be next to a flooding source, but one will be a higher elevation than the other. The one at a higher elevation will be paying a lower premium than the others. So also the building is specific. So the cost of rebuild your property. So that also 2 neighbors, they may have the same risk of flooding, same elevation, same distance to the flooding source, but one home may be a lot more expensive to rebuild than the other. So that person will be paying a much higher rate than the neighbor. So another thing that may have an effect, important effect in the city of Sugar Land, because what we mentioned before, Pat mentioned before, we have 9 separate levy districts in the city of Sugar Land, is that now they are going to rate completely different the cost from non-levy protected areas and levy protected areas. And that risk actually is being determined by the Corps of Engineers in conjunction with FEMA. So what is not changing? The flood insurance rate maps, the FIR maps that before they used to determine the risk of any property, they are going to stay the same, but they are going to be used mostly for floodplain management and flood regulations. So to determine rates, FEMA is going to get away from them. They are claiming that the mandatory purchase requirement in the safe hazard flood areas or in the 100-year floodplain are going to remain. So if you are in the 100-year floodplain, you are still going to have to buy flood insurance. If you are outside the 100-year floodplain, you are not going to have to buy flood insurance. However, what is not clear, and FEMA hasn't made it clear, is the treatment that is going to give in to levy protected areas. That's what the city and the levy districts in the city of Sugar Land are concerned, because they haven't been very forthcoming in, they are going to require
or to make mandatory for people living in in levee protected areas to buy or not buy flood insurance. Right now, anybody in the X zone protected by levee doesn't have to buy flood insurance. But we don't know what is going to happen after October 1st when they come clear with everything. So one thing right now that Congress forced FEMA is that anybody that currently have flood insurance, the rate cannot be increased by more than 80% per year. And I think you probably have seen in your flood insurance, those of you who have flood insurance, that every year has been going up a couple of $10, $20 every year, but no more than 18%. From now on, if you have flood insurance, if you grandfather with flood insurance, they cannot increase your flood rate, even if you get zone or you get, let's say they decide that you have a high risk, they can still not increase your flood insurance by more than 18%. However, if you don't have flood insurance and you have to buy flood insurance, you may be paying the higher rate. And everything that is the pre-film subsidized will continue the coverage, the grandfather. For example, if you are in X protected zone, not required to buy flood insurance. And in the future, they say that now you are required to buy flood insurance. You will still be paying the rates. If you have flood insurance, you'll be still paying the rates of an X protected zone. They cannot force you to buy at a higher rate. So it had several advantages to have flood insurance right now. And the discount policy holders for CRS community, like the city of Sugar Land, we are in the community rating system. We are what is called class 7. That give up to 15% discount for people that are in the flood zone, and 5% discount for people that is protected by levees. That we will continue maintaining, the city will continue maintaining this program, so residents that buy flood insurance, we can still get that discount on their flood insurance. So what is the city has been doing because of that? Even before April 1st, before FEMA make the program public, we already knew that it was coming, and we start coordinating with with the county and with all the levee districts on this. We start working with FEMA headquarters, and even we have been trying to communicate with Region 6, FEMA Region 6 in Denton. Unfortunately, we haven't had much luck working with them. We have been talking constantly with our representative in Congress, both in Senate and the House, with several Congress offices. Basically, we have been pushing to get a fair determination of the risk, especially in levee protected areas, because as I mentioned before, FEMA hasn't been very clear, very forthcoming in how they are going to assess that risk and what methodology they are using to assess that risk of levee protected areas. And as you know, all levees are not the same. Depending on the level of maintenance, depending on the pumping capacity, depending on the storage capacity behind each levee. So you cannot assess two levees, even within the city of Sugar Land. Two levee districts next to each other will be completely different level of protection. So we want to make sure that there is a fair share of the insurance premiums based on the actual risk. But again, we need to be able to review that methodology, and FEMA hasn't really disclosed that methodology. And we have been asking Congress to delay the implementation of this program that, again, will start in October 1st until all these until FEMA disclose all those methods, models, methodology, all the assumptions that they are using to formulate this new approach. So what the city is recommending right now to our residents, if you have flood insurance, maintain your flood insurance, don't let it go inactive, because you are going to grandfather all those changes in the rates. Again, they cannot increase your rates more than 18% a year if you have currently flood insurance. If you don't have flood insurance, this is a very good time to consider purchasing flood insurance before October 1st, even if you are not in the SFHA area, in the 100-year floodplain. So even if you don't have the mandate to buy flood insurance, you are protected by levee, or you are in the 500-year that FEMA doesn't require right now to buy flood insurance. It's a good investment to buy flood insurance, because we are not quite sure what is going to happen after October 1st. And even though you may not be required, you may be forced to buy flood insurance after October 1st, or in April 1st when you go to revalidate your insurance, and you'll have to pay a much higher rate. So I'm sure that you have many questions. I'll try to answer as many as I know. Yes, sir.
Can you put those two slides into the thing that Harry puts out?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we'll make that. Right. We'll make it available.
Okay, one
Yes.
thing we need to add on that. It goes into effect October 1,
Mhm.
but it it takes 30 days for a policy to go into effect. So that
Correct.
basically means you have to have purchased it by September.
By September, correct, that's correct.
October 1. If you wait till October 1, you're.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And again, it's hurricane season, regardless of this FEMA 2.0, FEMA Risk 2.0, we always recommend before hurricane season to buy flood insurance. And again, takes 30 days. So if you buy tomorrow and we get a hurricane next week, you are not covered. Yes, sir.
Do you have a current map of how the city of Sugar Land is set or issued under the floods, 500, 100, whatever?
You can access, I mean, we do have in our webpage, and you can also access the county. You access the Fort Bend County Drainage District, they have the flood map, and it shows the areas that are considered A zone or flooding zone, or AE zone, or X zone, or X zone protected by levee. All of them are. So let me, very briefly, in the city of Sugar Land, we only have literally one property that is in the AE zone, or it's in the 100-year floodplain, basically. One single property as per the FEMA map. However, we have more than 50 or 60% of the city that is in X zone protected by levee. Okay, majority, that's why we have 9 levee districts in the city. And to the north, we have several areas that are in the X zone, so they are not in the floodplain, but they are X zone, non-protected by levee. Okay? This is the thing. If FEMA decide to change those regulations right now, and they decided to force people in levee protected areas to buy flood insurance, we are going to have more than half our residents that will be forced to purchase flood insurance. And that's the concern of the city and the levee districts right now. That's why we are working actively with Congress to make sure that FEMA is a little bit more clear and forthcoming on those regulations that they are going to impose on us. Yes, sir.
Good question about the Austin Park Stone project.
Mhm.
My understanding is that there are 2 alternative paths for that to take. One is Acacia, which would take it through the Austin Park neighborhood. Commonwealth alternative also. Just kind of curious as to what the deciding criteria is on which path is taken. I know you're just in design.
Correct.
Right now.
It's mostly it's a constructability issue, really. If we come through Acacia, it could be a risk because we are coming with 2 side culverts that are 10 by 7. I mean, they are bigger than me. I can walk through, no problem. I'm very short, but I can go through those culverts very easily. We have to come through Acacia. We may maybe completely restrict those residents to come in and out of their neighborhood for a period of maybe 6 to 8 months. Plus, we may end up killing all those trees in that, because it's a residential street. It's not like Austin Park. Okay, if that's correct. Correct. Right. The other option that we have, which is Commonwealth, we come on Commonwealth. The problem is utilities there. I mean, we are next to the HLMP, well, it's Center Point Energy right away. We have kind of, even though it's a little bit better from the space and from traffic control and all that, we have utilities that we have to deal with. And then we actually have to come through to the right of way of the HOA, what is that? That's First Colony. In order to connect to lead 2. So both of them has challenges. We are working with the consultant engineer right now. They are doing an extensive survey of all the area. I think they're already working on the geotechnical survey, and they're working on all the utility survey, identifying utilities and everything, and come with the best constructability solution, basically. So right now, we don't know for sure which one is going to be the best. Again, we are looking at the one that is more feasible, that is not going to create a lot of problems for the residents, and it's also economic to build, that we can build it within what we have in the CIP. So we are working all those alternatives right now.
It's also my understanding that is also a neighborhood rep in Austin Park along. The level of information that we're getting kind of generates, or the lack of information we're getting about it generates questions to the neighbors. And, you know,
Right.
we
Well,
We would like to know, when are y'all going to try and communicate something to us
right.
that would alleviate some concerns? I realize, once again, you're in the design phase right now, and you're trying to work through all of the criteria to understand which path you're going to take.
Keisha, you want to take over that part, please?
So some projects, we have an extensive public engagement process and awesome preparations. Typically, we would like to get through the first 30% of the design, because as Jorge alluded to, we have a better idea of, what we can do constructability wise, and that's something that we would want to bring to you. So I would say once we get towards like 50, 60%, you'll see a project manager come to you and have an HOA meeting, or some other type of meeting to get the information out to you. And then you'll start seeing that more consistently once we have something to present to you.
And I know, I'm not the project manager on that one, or Keisha is, but I know the project manager actually, because I saw a copy of those emails. He communicated with Carrie to request the emails of all the
Yes.
HOA's directors, because he's already planning on that one.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
you
just, we got a from Ross Finn on.
exactly.
Yeah.
Ross was finished the project.
Attached photos, but it didn't really give much information.
Exactly. And unfortunately, because it's not a lot of information to
Right,
give
aside
right
from
now,
the
right?
geosurvey work that's going on.
Absolutely, geotechnical work, and then when we actually
One-
have something that we put our eyes on and say, yes or no, that would work, or won't work, then we'll come to you and present to you, provide you with exhibits, and actually do a presentation that will give you more information on that
Right,
project.
so you said 50 to 60%.
Around there, absolutely.
Are we talking about a February time frame then maybe, or?
I think he's planning in November. to
Yeah, I
have
would
it.
say sooner than February, you should have at least
So
your
November,
first,
November of this year?
November, December timeframe. You should
Right.
have your
One-
first.
Something that'll
of
be
the
done.
meetings.
One other issue that I won't say complicated, but delays things a little bit more for us in this particular project is that you probably know that we are getting a loan, 0% loan, 30-year from the Texas Water Development Board, which actually is very good because the city is going to save more than $7 million worth of interest on that bond. But because of that, they are more strict in the requirements, and they are requiring a lot of environmental studies, wetlands delineation, a lot of things that normally we don't have to do. But that's kind of delaying the process a little bit longer too, because we have to comply with all those requirements to get approval from the Texas Water Development Board before we go. They call it the planning process, what we are doing right now. Before we go into the design process, we have to complete the planning process and get everything approved by the Texas Water Development Board before we can start design. So that kind of put us a little bit behind, because there were, like, I would say 3 to 4 months of work that we didn't have in our schedule originally. So we are kind of running behind, trying to catch up as we talk right now.
One last question, the November communication, what form will that take? Will it be a meeting, a general invitation?
Yeah, so much like we do here, you'll get an invite from Carrie. Our department works with Carrie to get information out to.
So we don't have to set anything up on our end?
Not at all. I mean, we would ask if you have, a screen and, projector or laptop, but Carrie will work with you on that.
Typically harder for us, if y'all do it here in the auditorium, but we have all the info.
And that would be fine too.
And again, on FEMA, going back to FEMA RISC 2.0, there is a lot of information on the FEMA website. If you type FEMA RISC 2.0, you will find a lot of information. Unfortunately, it's very generic. It's not very specific to the city of Sugar Land needs. But we have been posting on our webpage, on social media and all that, as much information as we can get and we can gather from FEMA. So we have been trying to keep our residents on top. But again, best recommendation is, if you don't have right now, try to buy flood insurance before October 1st or September 1st. And if you have it, don't let it expire. Keep up with your flood insurance, at least until we know exactly how it's going, what effect it's going to have on us here in the city of Sugar Land.
Thank you very much for pointing that out, because it's just like such a huge economic impact
Mhm.
on Sugar Land and Fort Bend County.
Right,
So many of us are protected.
Correct. and talk to your,
Table, of Southeast Texas and.
Exactly.
water goes nowhere. I had one question real quick about
Yes.
sidewalks. We actually had a resident email me last night, tell me the criteria again for replacement of the sidewalks. His is holding water, and we got a lot of rain, but he said when he contacted the city, because it wasn't cracked, or because the city said it didn't look like it was impairing, it was a hazard, that they would not replace it. So if he has to replace it himself as a resident, that's your easement. Can he do that? Can he replace his sidewalk? Is there issues with his replacing it if y'all won't, or is there an avenue he can go through to appeal?
I mean, if it's in cities right away, then it'd be the city responsibility to take a look at it. So what I would recommend you do is just email this, the city engineer, email address.
Right.
Yeah, so it's cityengineer@sugarlandtx.gov, and we'll work with Public Works to get someone out there to take a look at it. I'm not sure who he spoke with.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
the
he didn't
issue?
say that, he just said his initial, it might have just been a phone call, he might have explained it, and they asked, is there a crack, and he said, no, it's not crack, and they might have just, I don't know.
Right.
That's-
And always help if you
So I would
can.
say that, we will work with Public Works and just make sure that they get that information and they can go and take a look at it and see where it is exactly and then what's wrong with it.
And if you can send a couple of pictures, that would be
Okay,
helpful.
copy
Yeah.
it too. Okay.
They have done that for us before. We had 7 homes, and they were holding water because of the trees over time. It's great, but they did that for us back in, I believe,
I mean, the reality is if it's holding water that's eventually going to cause an accident, right? So it does become a safety issue, and if it's within our right of way, then we will make the necessary repairs. And so Eric Oscarson will take a look at it. I do want to say though that we have a huge backlog of sidewalks. Yeah, I mean, they are working feverishly to, get up to date on this sidewalk, but of course, the more they do, the more backlog comes in, so, even if they do.
2.5 years.
Yeah, I mean, even if they do repair it, or put it on log to repair it, it may take some time, but it just depends on the criticality of it. Doug, did you want to say something?
Yeah, let me weigh in a little bit. So right now, we're in the middle of actually setting FY22 budget. And a lot of one-time funds have been allocated to sidewalk repairs. I know city council members have gotten a lot of requests right now. So there's no more prioritization as far as which sidewalks we repair and maintain. They have an active list. I'm gonna ask Carrie on the next quarterly HOA to put someone on the agenda from Public Works to actually over the sidewalk program, and then give you an update on that prioritization, kind of what we are, what we're working on, but also the money allocated. There's a significant amount of money in this upcoming fiscal year to address sidewalks. I believe it's like, we're trying to get close to $1 million. Don't quote me that figure, we're still working through based on our capacity, financial capacity right now. But we're actually working as one of our highest priorities.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you know if there's gaps in sidewalks? Because some sections of sidewalks aren't connected via rebar. They tend to separate. And you can have, anything from that to that. And it's easy for either pets, children, or adults even in some cases to step in.
I am not a sidewalk expert. I know we do shaping, I know we actually level out. Based on the condition of the sidewalks, we have a matrix to determine how we actually address those sidewalks. On the next quarterly HOA, I'll definitely have someone to talk about all those areas.
Doug, can I ask one other question? What is again, we're not holding you to a number, but you put a number out there. What is the normal budget number so they would know what the correlation is?
I'll get you the information. What happened was about 2 years ago when we did the Sugarland HOA funding, there was a really high emphasis on allocating money for sidewalk repairs, especially when we annexed in, I think it was New Territory and Greatwood. We did a pretty good assessment. We did annexation as well. Right at the Sugarland Way, I think we started having a downturn in the economy right before COVID, and some of those funds was cut a little bit. But we were trying to get back to previous levels of funding for sidewalks, I think back to 2018, 2019. That kind of was on the back burner, so now we're trying to catch up with that. We'll have an exact figure at the next presentation. So we'll have someone specifically come out and talk about that. I know we're aiming for about $1 million. Those numbers, we're still trying to finalize the follow budget that will happen in September this year.
I'm just trying to figure out if that's double a normal year or if that's 20% increase. or-
Yeah, I think it's more about 50% to 100%. Georgia, do you recall anything? I know you probably.
This year we have, excuse me, this year we have 625,000.
And I think our budget manager is trying to actually find additional one-time funding to offset that motion. That hasn't been finalized yet. So right now, we're down here, we're actually having budget meetings with the directors.
Thanks, Vincent.
We'll get you more information.
Thank you, Keisha, Jorge, ATM Brinkley. Hannah, do we have any questions? Okay, on. Next, we have Star Jelani. You may recognize her. She is coming back to us at the city. We're so excited. She's down with economic development.
Hello, everyone. As Carrie mentioned, I'm Star Gilani. I am the All In for SLTX liaison. I will be talking about sidewalks, but not necessarily the way you guys just talked about them. So I'll get right to it. So the All In for SLTX initiative stemmed out of the pandemic in order to support our local businesses. And since then, it's become a way for us to generate any cool projects and ideas to really help put our city on the map. A program I'd like to talk to you about first is Sweet Cash 2021. Some of you may have heard about it, but just like our All In for SLTX initiative, we wanted to bring a project together to really support our local businesses by influxing cash in them by purchasing gift cards, and also telling our citizens and visitors to purchase their own gift cards through the Buy a Voucher, Get a Voucher Sweet Cash 2021 program. It works in 3 simple steps. You purchase a gift card or a voucher or a certificate from any Sugarland business. It does have to be within city limits. The second step would be to fill out a form on our website and submit your proof of purchase. And the third step is that you get a voucher in your mail to try a new Sugarland business for free. The vouchers are mailed once a month after the first Tuesday after they're verified. And this gives you a chance to try as many businesses as you'd like in the $500 maximum. So you pretty much can try 10 new businesses for free a month. And if you have questions about what businesses are participating for the free voucher, want to submit your receipt, any questions in general, you can visit our website, www.allinforsltx.com. You can help us spread the word. I don't know if I can move this over just a little bit. You can help us spread the word by sharing information on social media and using the hashtag AllInForSLTX, telling your friends and family to take part in Sweet Cash. We do it per mailing address. So let's say you and your husband together, that's one mailing address. But if you have an aunt or a mom or whatever, they can do it too, depending on their different mailing addresses. You could get a lot of free vouchers to try new businesses. And then if you have any ideas or questions, you can email me. I will be passing out my cards at the end of this presentation, so you're able to get in touch with me. Another project I'd like to talk to you guys about is things we're doing to spread awareness about mental health. Our first is in partnership with Hope for the Day, where we're creating 3 different murals in 3 different city parks with the tagline, "It's okay not to be okay." These parks are Cullinan, Memorial, and Brazos River Park. All of these murals are going to have a QR code that's essentially going to provide the user with mental health resources. And it's not just going to be like a web page with a bunch of links. We know that that's not necessarily effective. So we're really trying to make sure we're communicating important information with these QR codes. And we're going to hook them up to our Google Analytics. So we'll be able to see how many people are actually utilizing these codes when they're visiting our city parks. We do have 2 artists that are local that have submitted their designs. They're going to have them finalized by tomorrow. And our review committee is actually meeting tomorrow to talk about them. And we're hoping we can have this all squared away prior to September 1 in order to be prepared for Suicide Prevention Month. We're also doing another partnership with To Write Love on Her Arms. And what this project is going to look like is we're building concrete messages. That's where sidewalks come in. And we're coupling those with boxes that are going to be not only beautiful, but also lit up, painted by local artists. And the goal of these boxes is to, again, provide mental health resources that they can grab, but this will also have a QR code again, so people are able to scan as well in our new touch-free world. What's awesome about these concrete messages is that To Write Love on Her Arms has messages that we worked with basically a few different committees to finalize 5 different slogans that we're getting printed on concrete stamps right now. They're your voice matters, your pain matters, your life matters. What you're going through will not last forever. You will make it out of this. Forgive yourself. It's okay to ask for help. You are enough just as you are. What's awesome about these concrete stamps is once we purchase them, we'll be able to utilize them for future sidewalk and trail projects as well. And right now I'm going to go through some locations. Before I even go to the next slide, it's important for me to say that these are not finalized locations. These are just locations that our committee, based on research and data information from our traffic teams, has collected and verified. Dawn and I actually walked these locations, so you'll see her in a lot of these photos. And the purpose of me trying to showcase these to you all is to get your input. And again, I'll take any questions and feedback at the end of this meeting, but if you think of something even afterwards, please email me because your involvement would be very, very appreciated. The first area we're looking at for the concrete stamps and boxes is Dulles southbound because that's where Sugarland right-of-way is. And we're looking at near Dulles High School. The X's mark where the concrete stamps would go, and then the box is where the box would go. The next is Elkins and Sweetwater near Clemens High School. And we wanted to do it to where we saw a lot of people walking that area naturally because of the schools being there, both the elementary school on one side and then Clemens on the other side. We have Voss and Bernie by Kempner High School, but closer to the water treatment plant. We have Imperial near Constellation Field, and this is closer to where that roundabout is on Imperial. We have 2 different locations on new territory. We have one by the Fire Station 7, and we have another one by Homeward Way. So right now we're still collecting data points from our other city teams to ensure that there's a lot of walkability in this area, and we're awaiting those, and they should be in our hand by Tuesday. But again, if there's any input from you all, I'm happy to take it right after this next slide. Another cool initiative that we're doing is creating some parklets. Parklets are basically like little parks and parking lot spaces. They're really fun, and people can sit in them when they grab like some ice cream. It's a cool photo op. Visitors are attracted to it, but also cool place for just to hang out and eat a quick snack or meal. We have one that's been finalized and is pending construction, which is in the Williams Trace Shopping Center. If anybody knows where Just Go Supermarket is, it's in that complex. We also have a second potential parklet, which is very, very promising. And this is going to be in the Blaze Pizza property, and the agreement has already been sent to the owners for review. That's all I have for you. I am happy to take any questions that you all may have. Any questions? Comments, concerns? Hannah, any questions? Thank you. Same. I'm so excited about them. And we're trying to work with other different areas too. And we wanted to work with our cultural arts manager as well to make sure we're spreading them out evenly. So there's one in like each district at least. So it's really cool. But you know, the cost of like lumber and everything has just been like skyrocketing. So our like construction team keeps coming back with a different quote, and we're like, yo, let's slow it down. You already promised this, got to do it. Anything else I can answer right now? Awesome.
I would like to talk to you later about that area near Sugar Creek.
Perfect. I'm just gonna pass these out really quickly. Thanks, Star. Thank
Love the
you.
concrete messages.
Yay, I'm so glad.
Thank you. Good idea.
Thank you. We gotta be like a lot of walkability. Yes.
Next we have Stacey Henderson. She's our Director of Environmental and Neighborhood Services.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead.
That's it. Perfect. Thank you.
Good morning. It's nice to see everybody in person. It's been great to have some virtual aids so we can continue business, but it just doesn't really replace the in-person feel. So what I want to talk to you this morning about is our solid waste task force. It is a new city manager task force. We actually have our first meeting tonight. Let me see if I can shift this. Maybe, okay. So just a little bit of background. Our current contract with Republic Services. We have On here, kind of shown our current service level. We have garbage collection twice a week via cart, recycle collection once a week via cart, green waste collection once a week, and then bulk waste collection once a month. And because it is time to start thinking about our next contract. Our contract with Republic Services will conclude in 2023. And so it's time to plan for the future. And what does that look like? We want to make sure with the new contract that we are considering some key community focus areas, things like environmental responsibility, the cost of service, those financial implications, and then any quality of life considerations. So we will be utilizing a solid waste task force to help us with this process. The task force will focus on education and understanding of solid waste complexities and the need to begin the planning process now in preparation for that contract coming up. We will work with them to develop, review, and then prioritize solid waste program goals. And through that process, we will also be utilizing a statistically valid survey for the community to confirm those goals. And then with that information, we will work to evaluate the strategies or the services that best meet the goals. And ultimately with a recommendation as to what our next level of service should be for our next contract. The task force is a 17-member city manager task force. It includes HOA representatives, members, just residents, and it also includes the executive director of Keep Sugar Land Beautiful here within our community. You can see information. This is a little bit longer of a website. If you just type in sugarlandtx.gov/solid waste task force, it will take you directly to the webpage where you can find out more information about the task force and any other questions that you may have. That was kind of just our high level. Again, we're just getting started tonight. So we will be working through this process over the upcoming months. It will be a relatively quick process, hopefully coming up with a recommendation by the end of the calendar year or the very beginning of the next year. Yes, sir.
On the recycling, there's been some conversations about that running into some problems, whether or not we'll have recycling in the future. What are you foreseeing in that area?
Well, so, I mean, there have been some challenges with recycling across the globe. That will be one of the things that we are going to talk about with the task force as well. We want to understand, where is the community right now on recycling? Is it something that everyone is still interested in? Recycling where it is, good for the environment, it's not free. There is a cost associated with it. What is that consideration and where does everything balance out? So we want to make sure we're including all of those topics of discussion with the task force to come up with that plan moving forward. So right now, I'm not sure where we're going to land with the next contract. That's really going to depend on the task force and kind of that identification of the goals and those service levels coming forward.
And something that's helpful with that is actually putting some numbers next to that. I know oftentimes surveys are pretty much, what do you want, what do you want, what do you want? And people just say, well, yeah, I want this, but when they see cost.
Right.
But sometimes that's what I think, sometimes it comes cart before the horse.
Right.
I mean, let's see what the cost is, because I can almost immediately scratch out what I want if I see what that's gonna cost me. Because too far you get down the road and then you realize the residents don't want to pay for this. So what's the point of spending all this energy going down a road? You're gonna have to stop and back up. So I would really appreciate when you get to surveys or when you're even talking to the task force, that the numbers are already forefront.
Okay, that's very
In my
helpful.
mind. I mean, personally, myself, I can go with one solid waste a week
Okay.
before I give up the recycle because of the expense.
Okay. No, that's very
So
good
just my
feedback.
mind.
Thank you.
But I don't, again, if I see numbers, I'll see what I want.
Right. And that is a little bit of a challenge because again, we're trying to figure out the service level before we're actually figuring out, who the contractor is going to be and what that cost looks like. But
Current numbers. I mean, you have your current contract, you can say twice a week collection is costing this much versus a 1 week collection would probably.
right, we could give
shift.
some estimates.
Right, estimates is all we're looking for.
Right. Yes, sir.
I've heard some things from some of our residents saying that they're confused with what Republic will pick up for the once a month
The bulk waste?
bulk waste.
Okay.
And how they will pick it up. Some
Okay.
people have had a fence on their front lawn that they've taken down and
Mhm.
cut up, and they thought it was acceptable, but it has nails in it, or it's more
Right.
than 4 inches, 4 feet long, or whatever it is. And I haven't been able to find anywhere that says you can't have nails in it, but
Okay.
if there is some place, I'd like to have some real good thing that say, if you're gonna put it up for that, it's gotta be this.
Okay.
And then that doesn't sit out there all month waiting for the next one.
Right, and our website does provide information. We will double check it to make sure it provides enough information. I do want to take the opportunity, that's kind of a good segue. We have a new environmental manager with the city, and I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce her. Her name is Georgia Tate. She's here in the back.
I was just talking about sidewalks.
Yes. Yes, she recently moved from our Public Works Department to our Environmental and Neighborhood Services Department. And so we will check on that information. But Carrie, can we also, follow up on some of that? Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Don't write my name down.
Too late.
Oh.
Any questions from online? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stacy. All right, now it's my turn. So we are going to have National Night Out this year, October 5th. That's the first Tuesday of the month in October. Now the National Night Out nationally is in August, but because of the weather here and wanting to make sure that we get past the start of school, the City of Sugar Land holds our National Night Out in October. Just in a few weeks on July 30th, the police department will open up registration. So you can go to their National Night Out page and register your neighborhood if you are planning to hold a block party or some other gathering that evening, and put down all of your information, and then that schedule will get started. Any questions on that? The next thing I wanted to share with you all is our Sugar Cube Block Party trailer is open again for reservations. So after a year of it being on hold because of COVID, as of last month, we are taking reservations again. And I have to let y'all know, I don't have one reservation. It's the weirdest thing. So this is the Sugar Cube Block Party. Let me, you know what? Hold just a second. I'm going to show it to you. So the block party trailer, let's see, we kicked that off about 2 years ago. It is called the Sugar Cube. It's everything that you would need free of charge. There's not a reservation fee, or you don't have to put down a down payment or anything to hold a block party outside. And just takes 45 seconds. We can watch this really fast. So our community engagement partners with parks for this program, and you would reserve this from a Friday through a Sunday timeframe. It would be dropped off on a Friday afternoon at the location that you've designated, and then picked up on Monday morning. Pizza is not included, just have to let y'all know that. But everything in this block party trailer had tables, chairs, traffic cones, games. We've got coolers. just anything that you would need to hold a block party. So you don't have to, I've held a few of these in my neighborhood where you gather your neighbors, like, do you have a table and do you have a cooler and, do you have some wine? And, but this has everything in it. So the first thing I would want you to know is you have to be a recognized or registered community group. And so it would have to be someone, it could, well, let's say, a lot of you have already registered, but I would make sure that before you reserve this, and there's a calendar you can go to check the reservations, is to make sure that you are registered. And if you need help with that and to find out, I've already done this because the last 18 months, some have forgotten, and I completely understand. I can let you know. Oh, my neighborhood?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. No. Lewis and I live in New Territory and neighborhoods across the fence from each other. Yes, we have a fun crawfish boil. Oh my gosh. Let's see. What else? What else did I want to share with y'all? Just as you're planning your events, please consider the block party trailer. The reason why we ask you to be a registered group is because we want to make sure that this is an event that you're holding for the entire neighborhood or community. It couldn't be reserved, say, for a child's birthday party or something. We also like to say we want to make sure this thing is not headed into Houston to some group that we don't know about. So. Yes, exactly. Yes. All right, and our wrap up, we'll have ACM Doug Brickley.
Thank you. I do not have a presentation. It's been a while since I've been down to the quarterly HOA, so, man, it's kind of, I love it. We're kind of getting back to normal. I think we said it when other speakers came up and said it's good to be face to face. But also, all the events in Town Square, the restaurants are busy. I think Smart Financial is coming back on. Anybody been out to the New Skeeters games? You gotta get out there. You can see the difference in the level of the performance of the athletes out there. It seems to get bigger, the pitching is faster, but this is an exciting time. I'm hoping we don't have any hurricanes this year because we have been extremely busy. So, any questions? I know anything we're not covering for you. Every time we have a quarterly HOA, we try to do a roundtable, make sure that we give you topics. We know we're going to address the sidewalk thing coming up, and I'll get you way more information on that one. Anything we're not getting you that you need to talk about? Yes, sir.
Yeah, water meter boxes. We've got a real problem with mosquitoes this year, obviously, with all of the rain. I look at my water meter box daily and there's no water movement going through it, but it is filled with water. It's a great place for breeding mosquitoes. And add to that whenever we have our meters read, the meter readers don't reseat the tops properly, so they aren't pushed back down enough to make a good seal. So, we've got meter readers not doing their jobs correctly by reseating the lids. We've got the water popping the lids whenever it builds up in the meter boxes. Is there anybody, trying to address that problem? Because I've tried to get it addressed for years, at least from the meter reader perspective. The solution lasts for about a month. And I'll go out there and I'll watch the guy pulling the lid off and just kind of toss me to the side, or just barely putting it back on, laying it back on basically.
Barry is taking notes for me as I speak, and we'll follow to make sure. I know everyone saw some of the recent results that came back from some of the readings, so they are out there actually reading. Because I think we had a couple of West Niles that came back as well recently. So we're spraying, we're doing all the protocols we normally do, but definitely we'll follow back up with you and make sure that.
Yeah, well, the city always tells us, look for low-lying areas or places collecting water. That's one we can't do anything about. The city has to do.
We'll follow.
And I was going to say, isn't there a way to actually request a new lead?
Yeah, if you give us the information, address, and if I know the location and the address or the location.
Because what's happening with exactly this, they're either cracked or they lift up, and then heavy rains, I can tell you where they end up. They end up in the lake.
Yeah, exactly.
They go down the storm drain, they're lifted, they're put in the street, they go down the storm drain, and I've seen them floating in the detention. This is an issue with our flooding. it is a problem.
That is, yeah, everything you said is correct. And I've actually seen new lids pop off, people have had them replaced. Over time, I see the new lids pop up also simply because the housings are cheap. I mean, these things aren't connected to the boxes themselves that are in ground, and that would keep them from at least floating away, but they're even connected in any way or anything like that. So they're just very cheap.
I'll follow up and get back to you next.
Then I have a question. I know we've had the freeze and everything, but driving here this morning was hard because driving down Highway 6, the Esplanade, I don't know who's fully responsible. Grass looks really. Grass is, I understand, we've had the rain.
Which area specifically? So I can-
From Austin Parkway to City Hall. The entire length of Highway 6. It's not been mowed. Obviously, there are areas that have not been mowed, and I'm assuming it is the city because it's coming off Bush Park. The St. Augustine runners are now reaching the street, over the curb, reaching into the street. It's not been mowed or edged in a while. And then just the shrubbery, just the landscaping, the plant material has died. It's not being removed. It's not being pressed. The roses have the wild morning glory vines completely covering them. So I'm just really scratching my head here. We're supposed to be about this beautiful city, and the Highway 6 Esplanade is in dire need of attention. I don't know who's responsible for the maintenance. Is that FCCA that you work with?
I think we've taken over most of the right of ways, but I can get specific information on the Highway 6. There during COVID, I know we reduced some of the funding. So we took over, we should contract that out.
Right. FCCA, I thought, did some of it.
FCCA does some of it. So depending on the location, that's why I asked you a specific location. And I believe the area you said is kind of the our right of way, but I'll verify that. But we should just contract everything out. The increased price of labor kind of forced us to look at would it be more efficient to actually do it in-house and actually taking over a lot of the right of way as far as just the maintenance, but also allocating more funding for beautification. But
quite frankly, when it comes to trees, I know they were originally placed there when they expanded Highway 6. Years ago, we're talking, Chris Stewart and I talked about this, and not getting landscaping all the way up through the city and all that. But my suggestion right now is get rid of them, don't replace them. Don't try to beautify some of this area that's not going to grow anyway, because nothing's going to grow under the tall crepe myrtles now. They were short. Maybe it made sense. But it doesn't make any sense to have anything under the crepe myrtles now. So my idea is just clear it out. They're doing it along Dulles. They're actually, I don't know if that's city of Sugar Land or Missouri City, but they're clearing areas out there along Dulles near the school and actually replacing it with stone underneath crepe myrtles. So it's clean. It doesn't have to be mowed. Just
I think our wish is to make sure that we maintain a city that's going to be beautifully landscaped, and it's just, our ethos have a beautiful place here, quality of life. Let me give you an update on that as well.
okay.
To follow up on what Debbie said, though, I've noticed a general laxity in code enforcement over the last several months. At the corner of Lexington and Austin Parkway, that CVS never cuts their grass, basically, or trims their bushes. The at-home parking lot I drove through yesterday, I thought I was in a different city. Let me see, there's just top of my head. The AMC has been much more poorly taken care of than it had been in the past when it was making money. So those are just a few examples.
Yeah, I know AMC is just coming back online. We've had a
Well,
problem.
they've been back online for a long time.
We had a lot of rain recently as well too, so I'm trying to, in my mind,
Well, I
trying to
understand
balance
that,
some
but there's,
rain as well too.
this is beyond, we've had a lot of rain.
And some of this is quite visible. We've been, it's been going on since pre-COVID.
Yeah.
This is pre-COVID issues that COVID just exacerbated.
COVID did exacerbate it, so we need to prioritize some
And then the
funding.
freeze killed off some things,
Yes.
but now HOAs, everybody is coming on saying, it didn't come back, get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here looking at City of Sugar Land here along that, and I'm thinking,
There's a lot of commercial properties that have a bunch of.
Doing that.
A lot of stuff was poured out through the winter storm. We talked about refuge and talked about solid waste. a lot of stuff is pulled out when the form everything off.
Right.
So some of this may be a result of that. Once again, this is my job to come in and do a wrap up to see what the concerns are.
You'll never be back.
I am totally fine. I work for you guys, so I'm totally fine. What I will do is I did before, I asked Carrie to put that on this other discussion for the next quarterly HOA. Just give you an update kind of where we are. And I think there's been a great discussion. The current state, kind of what we're working on, what we see as far as beautification, landscaping, and everything else. But also we have a totally brand new in-house, and I think we're still hiring. That was a hiring freeze that we just lifted no less than 30 days ago. Now, some of those positions with vacancies in this right-of-way beautification. These are GM1 maintenance workers. Because of COVID, we went to austerity measures, and we didn't fill any vacant positions. So that is not an excuse, but I just
No,
want to.
but that, I mean, that's good. It's good to know, and that's something we understand that, but at some point, when's it gonna get back online?
Yes, ma'am.
And how can we change it going forward, so we're not putting so much plant material in there, so much attention.
I'll make sure I get you a current update. That way we have factual information as well. I was trying to get that. Just come in. Yes, ma'am.
And I'd also like to hear from code understand how the HOAs could partner with them to get some things done, working together rather than, I've run into that as a manager, not being able to get residents to comply, where you are talking about commercially, residentially, and just having some sort of an idea of where I go with that.
What we're here for, sir. Yes, sir.
I thought I'd congratulate the city and you and everybody else, I guess, for being the nicest city in the world to live in or something like that. I just heard it on the radio. I said, oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
You get text messages all morning today, so I think.
And do we have any questions online?
No questions? Anything else?
Yeah.
All right, it looks like we'll have a packed agenda for the next quarter.
That'll be in October.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yes, thank you so much. Just a reminder, if you have an upcoming annual meeting that you would like for us to attend, please reach out to me and I can help you coordinate that. And if you have any questions about anything, as always, reach out to me and I will help you. So good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Have a great trip.
Thank you. Take some treats on your way out, please.
Well, good seeing you.
The guy that actually does the looking is the guy that comes. And we don't go through any of this.